The popular wisdom around the country is that any candidate running as a socialist has no chance whatsoever. That's what Fox News screams at us literally every single day, which is absurd on its face, but also ignores the fact that there are any number of politicians around the country already who are happy to embrace that label. And one joins us right now. This is Kshama Sawant, a Seattle City Council member of the Socialist Alternative Party, fighting for re-election against some corporate interference. Kshama, welcome to the Damage Report.
Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you here. So let's talk about your current race. You've closed out your primary, correct? But you might end up facing one of your primary opponents in the general election. Is that correct?
We already know who the opponent is going to be because only top two move to the primary. So we have the Amazon and the Chamber of Commerce candidate facing off against us.
So talk to me about that. What is the involvement of Amazon in this race?
Well, as you know, in Seattle, like many other cities, is facing this kind of crisis that is so characteristic of capitalism, which is that the cities are wealthier than they've ever been before, and yet the economic inequality, the affordable housing crisis, the explosion of homelessness is unprecedented. So our race is shaping up to be a fight for the soul of Seattle itself, which is, working people on the one side and Amazon, the Chamber of Commerce, real estate corporations, and Comcast and CenturyLink on the other. So really the question is, who gets to run Seattle, Amazon and big business or ordinary working people? And in September through November, we're going to be in a fierce election fight. It's going to be a classic, it's going to be class struggle in the way that we read about in the textbooks, where big business has already pumped in over $1 million into the city council races, the majority of which has come into our race backing their candidate. And on the other hand, we have a people-powered, working people-powered campaign going up against Amazon. And really the question is, are we going to have affordable housing? Are we going to have funding for social services and to address homelessness?
So there's two aspects of that I'd like a little bit more information on. So one is the money that's being donated to your opponent from Amazon executives and others. Do any of these executives actually live in the area, or is this just money coming in sort of nationally because of what you represent as a candidate?
I think it's both. I mean, just to give you an example, it's not just Amazon, right? It's also other corporations and other billionaires. So just give you a very important example. The billionaire and former Starbucks CEO, Howard Schultz, he not only lives in Seattle, he lives in the district that I'm running from, District 3. And so there are executives like that. And in fact, our opponent, who is the Amazon-backed candidate, he already has at least 12 Amazon executives who've donated directly to his campaign. I think basically every executive except for Jeff Bezos himself has donated to his campaign. But in addition to his own campaign donations, there are corporate PACs, thanks to Citizens United, there are corporate PACs where corporations and billionaires and the super wealthy can donate any amount of money, unlimited amounts of money. And so money is flowing in from multinational corporations and billionaires throughout. And in fact, that's a very important point you raised because, working people in every city have a stake in this election campaign in Seattle, just like big business from all over the country and essentially multinational corporations are weighing in to make sure that the message of movements being able to fight together and win doesn't spread. They don't want this contagion of class struggle to spread anywhere beyond Seattle. That is why they're pumping money into the city. And that's why working people in every city also have an interest in this campaign.
So really, I'm trying to get an idea of what, they're acting as if they're quite scared of you remaining in this position. I'm trying to get an idea of exactly why that is. So talk to us a little bit about, in your years, I believe 5 years that you've been on the city council, tell us what are some of the initiatives that you've led and what do you plan for after re-election?
That's a very important point. I mean, Amazon and big business billionaires are not in the habit of giving money for free. They're pumping in so much cash because they are afraid of something. And you're right, in the 5.5 years that we've been here, we have shown a tremendous and indeed historic example of what is possible when you have energized and mobilized social movements led by working people, led by the labor movement. And that movement also has an unapologetic representative on the city council as an elected representative of working people, and that's what we have shown through our example. And so what they're worried about is not me personally, just individually. What they fear is that my city council office is unbought by big business, is never going to sell out, because I'm a member of the rank and file member of the labor movement myself and a part of the movement myself. And so what we have won is not only making Seattle the first major city to have won $15 an hour, which was a historic victory, and now has spread nationwide and has become a campaign point in the Democratic primaries also in 2016. But in addition to that, we have won landmark renters' rights that have not been won in many decades. And we have shown, most importantly, that it is possible to get organized around concrete demands like $15 an hour, like rent control, like the Indigenous Peoples Day, and ending Columbus Day. We have shown that we can win victory after victory after victory and push back against the Goliath of big business. We don't have their billions of dollars, and we are not going to have. But what we do have is hundreds of thousands of people in Seattle who want to fight for a city that they can afford to live in. And that is why the message of taxing Amazon and big business to fund publicly owned affordable social housing has also attained tremendous momentum. So we're going to be fighting on rent control to expand social housing by taxing big business, and also for a Green New Deal for Seattle's working people to massively expand public transit as well.
Very well said. Kshama Sawant, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Here on The Damage Report, we talk a lot about the big banks and their ways of getting rich off the poor. They saturate the market, but there are other options. And I've got info on a socially and environmentally responsible financial institution that has no ATM fees, gives you cash back on every purchase. They even commit 10% of their earnings to charity. It's called Aspiration, and if you go to aspiration.com/TYT to sign up, you'll get these perks, and that's more money to spend or to save or to spend. Just treat yourself.